Here we go. Awesome. There it is, guys. Welcome, everybody, today to Amateur Hour. This is episode number 4, and we've got our first special guest with us today. I'm really excited about that. So, first of all, you guys know my boy, Sasquatch 210. We do this show together every 2 to 3 weeks, and we're having a blast doing it. So, everybody that's joined us, thank you so much for being here. John, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, man, everything's going really well. Just hanging in there, man. It's new comic book day. I didn't get to go to the comic book store today, but I was excited to see what everybody else picked up. That was really fun.
Sweet. Speaking of that, for the last 2 weeks, my LCS has gotten books in late, and I haven't gotten my books on new comic book day. So I'm like, I didn't go today either, man. It's weird.
This is the first day, and since it's the first day of this year that I haven't gone, man. I've been pretty
really
for 2019.
It feels weird, right?
Yeah, it feels so strange. And I'm pretty sure that the people at the comic store were like, what happened to him?
Where's he at? Where's this guy at? Well, before we go any further and get talking and hanging out, we've got to introduce our special guest, Mr. Garrell. Thank you for joining us, brother. It's good to have you here. Say hello, man.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for having me. Awesome.
Cool, man. Yeah, so we've been trying to get a special guest on this show for a while. And John messaged me on Instagram. He's like, dude, we got one.
You didn't get a great one, but you got one.
Oh, no, man. We are excited to have you, brother. We appreciate you watching the show. We appreciate you being here tonight with us, man. And we're going to have a blast for sure. So what's new with you guys? What's going on before we get into things, man?
Hey, well, before we start, let's go through the chat just really quick because we got quite a few people that are already here. So we've got Bake the Snake. What's up, Bake the Snake? How's it going, my man? We got Mr. Garrell is in there. DK Comics and Cosplay. Hey, Delphia, how's it going? We've got Cocoon. Hey, Cocoon, what's up, my man? And Perry's Comics, man. How's it going, Perry?
What's up, Perry?
So welcome, man. Guys, thank you for being here tonight. I know it's for some people it's like really early, for some people it's late. So thanks for hanging out with us. But let's learn a little bit about Mr. Garrell, man. You and I have know each other pretty well. Let's get to know this guy.
Well, yeah, I started collecting comics again almost a year ago, I guess. And I don't really have an LCS that close to me, so I didn't go to the comic book store either today. I get them mostly from my comic store shop.com. So
cool.
That's where I usually get mine from.
Where are you from, man?
Dallas, I guess, would be. Frisco, mostly. Yeah, Frisco is where I mostly am. Frisco, Texas. Cool.
Hey, so
I'm not sure if it was Houston or what, but Texas, man, that's all that
Texas. That is all that matters. I've lived in Houston. I lived all over Texas, but it's Texas.
Sweet. What were you gonna say, John?
I was gonna say, not only is he our first guest, we have 3 Texas boys in the house. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we gotta give Florida a run for money because they keep popping those guys out of nowhere every week.
I was gonna say, man, I think that of all the people that I follow on Instagram that I interact with, there's only maybe 1 or 2 other people that I know that are from Texas. So we're the majority here.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
I think we get to make decisions for all the rest of the Texas comic book collectors on Instagram. That's what that means. We can establish some Texas laws or something since
that's right.
The majority in the house.
That's right, man. We always got to be carrying a comic book.
Yes.
So Mr. Garrell, you got back into comic books. I think I saw you. I met you, started seeing you in the chats and stuff, and then we started messaging each other when I was selling my mystery boxes. How do you like being on this side of the camera, man?
I did not as well probably as being in the chats. Like I said before, when JD had me on there, my kids, all kids these days think YouTube. They watch YouTube almost more than television. Yeah. And they think if you're on YouTube, then you're famous. And so they kept talking to me. So finally, I just made a quick video one time just to kind of give them something to laugh about. And then they would harass me. So a week or 2 later, I'd make another one. It was mostly just me in the closet showing books. And man, every time especially now that I'm showing my face, they freak out. They're probably downstairs watching right now, thinking it's like I'm some kind of famous person or something with my whopping 100 followers.
That's right, man. Delphia's saying we're like the cool kids now. Heck yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I had to kind of go to YouTube though because I don't have an LCS necessarily near me. The way one guy explained it to me was there was like Lone Star Comics in the Dallas area, and they were buying up a bunch of people years ago, and then they just kind of started shutting down all their stores. That became mycomicshop.com. That's kind of what that became into, and so there's really been nobody that's kind of filled that void for a while. And so when I was trying to figure stuff out, it was just nothing but YouTube until I found Instagram. Once I like kind of finally gave up, I was like, okay, I'll go on Instagram. That's when I was like, oh wow, this is actually kind of cool. This is people who will help you. And because I mean, let's be honest, a lot of YouTube is a spec and stuff. So I was like really confused how it all works. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
And do you feel like you've learned a lot, brother?
Yeah, actually, well, sometimes when you learn more, you get more confused because there's a lot of stories. and even in just the Marvel alone, there's just so many stories. Like I knew I liked Thanos, and I liked the Infinity Gauntlet, and I know Comic Tom they're doing an Infinity Gauntlet breakdown. But just even that, and then when you see that, and then you go to like Secret Wars, and then all these other things, it's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I think I learned a lot.
That's cool, man. I want to give a shout out. We got joined by HTown Comics. What's going on? And Texas 3507 says, "Gotta rep the Lone Star State." Got another Texas boy in the house. Sweet. Yeah, man. I remember watching YouTube and commenting, and I used to watch, and I still do, Variant. You guys know Variant Comics?
Yeah, every time I need to, like, I want to say, what's the history of so and so, I type it in. That one always comes up. Really good.
Yeah, man. I remember watching him and just being like, "This is so cool! Like, I love this." And then same with you, man. I got on, and then my kids saw it, and they're like, "Dad, you're the coolest guy ever." I'm like, "You know what? I am." Say that again. Say that again. And just I don't know. It just took off, and I love doing this. And I mean, look at all our friends in the chat. You know, all these people that we know, and we've never met each other, but we're just all good friends supporting one another. So it's a good time, and I love doing this, man.
So I know also Kachung mentioned in the chat that him and Delphia used to live in Texas.
Yeah, Austin.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
So I will give them the honorary title of honorary Texans, even though they don't technically, or they don't live in Texas anymore. But once a Texan, always a Texan, man. So
yeah,
go Kachung and Delphia. And then also, you know, Matt, you and I talked about, like, we had a conversation a while back because I asked you if Gem Mint was from El Paso, and he posted on his Instagram page. He took a picture of his SUV. He's got this really big black SUV, and he posted, like, I guess he put a new decal on the back, and he was waiting in line at the drive-thru at Whataburger. And then in the caption, he said that he mentioned that he was from El Paso.
Really?
Man, that's crazy.
So maybe he originated from here, grew up here, something, and then moved over to California, or what?
Well, from the looks of it, like some of his recent posts, it looks like he actually lives in El Paso right now.
No way.
Yeah,
I'm gonna message him then, because I mean that'd be really cool, man. I had a local reporter come to me, and he was actually just texting me today, and he's like, "Yeah, we want to do a huge piece on you. We want you to write some stuff. Tell us about yourself. We're gonna do this whole thing." And it'd be really neat to find out other YouTubers in town, and just get some recognition over here, you know. But I've been to all the cons and everything. I've never seen him here. I followed him and watched him for a while, and I didn't recognize, because he'll go outside and show like the shop he's at, and I don't recognize it. And I mean, I know El Paso pretty well because I used to be a collector for the gas company, and I'd have to go all over this town and stop in every area, man. So. But I mean, maybe he's over here now. I'm gonna check into that for sure.
I mean, maybe it could have been that maybe he was just visiting his hometown or something. But it seemed to me like what I gathered from those posts was that he was from El Paso. But yeah, that's definitely something to look into, man. That could be a really cool connection.
That's cool. That's cool.
If he's repping Whataburger, then the chances are he's lived here at one time or has visited quite often.
Heck yeah, man. I actually, when I was a kid, the guy that owned Whataburger lived two blocks down from my parents' house, and I would go over to his house and play all the time, man. And he ended up selling Whataburger and moving, and they're selling that house now. And my wife was like, "Hey, check this house out. We love the neighborhood by your parents' house," and we were looking at it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" It brought back so many memories being in that house playing Super Nintendo. It was crazy. It was cool. But little blast from the past right there, man.
It smelled like French fries when he walked in.
Right? It did. No, not really. The guy was so loaded. He would go on a trip to Africa to hunt once a month.
Once a month. Wow. All right.
Once a month, man. And so you walk into the house and he has this humongous like living room. It's just, there's just big, huge space, and all on his walls he just had heads of different animals and stuff, and it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
So was that what you were selling all your mystery boxes for, so you could buy the Whataburger mansion? Is that
exactly?
That's awesome.
You called
I knew it. I knew it was fine something.
Oh man. So anyway, guys, we don't want to drop any spoilers, but did you guys both see Endgame?
I did. I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it on Saturday, man. And having to wait the reason I had to see it on Saturday was because I worked Thursday night.
Uh-huh.
Friday, my wife worked, and I wanted to be able to see it with her. So we both decided the best day was going to be Saturday, and it was excruciating having to wait just those 2 days, man. Like I had to stay off of YouTube and Facebook for 2 days.
Oh yeah, man.
I
saw
didn't go
it
till
Thursday,
Sunday, and I was very antisocial until Sunday. Yeah, I did
Were you
not
really?
do anything. No Instagram, no internet. Didn't watch you. I didn't barely watch YouTube. I think I was watching like cooking stuff on YouTube because I didn't want anybody to accidentally say something. I stayed off of everything.
Yeah, man. Hey, what's up, JP? And definitely Cocoon, we got you, brother. We're not gonna have any spoilers here. But I saw it on Thursday, first showing that we had it here in town, and even what was it, Wednesday night, people across the ocean had seen it. Some people in the States had seen it, and they're already dropping spoilers. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I did not get on Facebook or Instagram from like Wednesday night until after I saw the movie, And so it's just like, God, it's crazy, man. But boy,
it was
that.
It was the strangest feeling, man, because I don't know when the last time was that I went without social media, and I didn't realize until that moment how much I rely on it for information, for entertainment. So it was crazy. Like I felt like I was in like the dark ages or something, which is no exaggeration, but I was like, how did we used to do this? Like, what did we do with all this free time?
Yeah.
So
my email is even Yahoo, and so even like at work when I go check my thing, I'd literally put my hand where like the news is, and then click on the thing because I didn't want to see anything. That's how bad it was. I was like, I don't want to see any news. I was like,
well, it seems like Cocoon hasn't seen it, and Delphia maybe. So I mean, they must be having a hard time, man.
And I think they were supposed to, and then Cocoon got sick, so they haven't delayed even longer now.
No, I hope you're feeling better, bro.
Hey, so without revealing any spoilers, like, can you guys, I don't know, can we like say what we thought about the movie, like just without spoiling it? Like,
I think so. Yeah, I think you can say whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, well, what do you guys think then?
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10, so that when whoever hasn't seen it goes in there, it's amazing for them.
I was like, really? A 4 out of 10? That's okay.
I'm gonna give it over 9,000 for my Dragon Ball Z fans, man. That movie just blew me away, man. That's all I can say.
Man, I thought it was one of the most fun and entertaining comic book movies I've ever seen. And everybody knows I only started collecting about a year ago, but before that I was still watching all the Marvel movies, and it didn't feel like 3 hours at all. Like before it came out, like it was just action packed, scene after scene. The pacing was really good. And I know, and I'm interested. Like it's cool that you and I actually agree on this, Matt, because I know we didn't agree about the Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah,
but I loved it. I totally loved it, man. I loved everything about it, and I want to see it again.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was good. The wife went with me, and she thought she'd seen all the movies until I explained to her there are like 26 of them, and then she realized she hadn't seen them. And she hadn't actually seen Infinity War, but she thought, she kept arguing with me about it, and she liked it. She liked it even though not really understanding why other people were upset or this person was she didn't really know. She just knew, something big happened in the last movie, but she didn't really know, and she liked every minute of it. What I liked about it, it was like legitimately a movie, right? Like, I know it sounds weird, but it was a Marvel movie that had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and everything worked perfectly. I didn't really have too many complaints. I mean, sure, you're gonna have like, oh, I don't really like, but I mean, I thought it worked perfectly as just even a good movie.
Yeah, man. It was, it's a masterpiece in my opinion. The way that they took all 21 movies before this one and made it all work. Like, it is a saga, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait. You guys know Geeky GMT Klaus from Sweden?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He messaged me right after he saw it, and we were talking about it because he saw it the day before I did, and then I saw it, and then I messaged him right when I got home, and we started talking about it and just like geeking out. And he's like, you know what, dude, let's do this on YouTube. And I'm like, all right, I'm down. So he set for May 7th, which I don't have my calendar in front of me. What's today, the 1st? So next Wednesday, I think. And he wants to get a whole bunch of YouTubers together and just to talk about it, man. And he's like, you know, it's 2 weeks. I think that's enough time for everyone to see it. And we'll put definitely that there's going to be spoilers. So those that haven't still been able to see it, they can come back. So he told me to let people know. So if either of you guys or anybody in the chat wants to be in on that, he just wants to have a huge group of people just geeking out and talking about the movie. And I cannot wait to do that, man.
Yeah, that'd be real cool, actually.
Yeah.
One thing I would say that I was actually surprised, I was worried about, but I was also worried about in the other Avenger movies, is that when you have that many characters and they're bigger than life, I was like, man, I hope there's not like, you know, silly little things. No, man, I think everybody fit right. It didn't feel weird or forced. It was just seamless all the way through. Everybody kind of popped in the movie when they needed to, popped out when they needed to. It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
You have that fear of like Spider-Man 3, where the movie should have just had Venom. Venom's so awesome in his own that you don't need Sandman and you don't need Green Goblin Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was too much, and the movie ended up just being but this is totally opposite. But let's jump into the chat again real quick, man. My brother popped in. Hey, buddy, what's up, man? So Marco Garcia, that's my little brother. And then JP said that'd be awesome. He'd want to be a part of it. Holy cow, comics with Bueller. What is up, my man? Thank you for stopping in here, dude. We appreciate it, man. That's
Hello,
awesome.
Bueller.
And Tank has seen it 5 times already. Holy cow, man.
People in our little comic book club, they have seen it many times, a lot of times. Yeah, it's crazy how many times they've seen it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And from Heroes to Icons, hey, brother, what's up? Yeah, I planned on seeing it the next day, and just stuff has come up. And I've got my kids got soccer games and soccer practice and this and that, and I haven't been able to get back and see it, and I'm like itching to see it again.
Yeah, man. I have to see it soon because I'll tell a little story. The wife surprised me with it. We work almost 6-7 days a week because we just started. She's an eye doctor, and we just started her own business.
Yeah,
and so we work 7 to 7 all these hours, and then she surprised me with this. Says we're going Sunday, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So we go there. And we're waiting in line, and I noticed we got moved to the left side of the movie theater. And I looked over there and I said, "What kind of tickets did you buy?" She goes, "Oh, I know, I bought tickets." And then as we're going in, they hand us our 3D glasses. And although 3 hours isn't long, 3 hours when you're only like 2 rows from the screen, because she had to get the ticket she could get, wearing 3D glasses for 3 hours, that was a little long. So I do want to go back and watch it in normal. In the normal way, because that was a bit much, 3D for 3 hours, and the screen is so huge, and it was a lot for that part. But yeah, other than that, it was great.
Cool, man. So you got to get back like I do.
Yeah, definitely. I need to get back and watch it.
That's the thing, man. It's definitely like an event, which is one of the things I love about it. But like my wife and I went and saw it. Like we went to one of the first showings at like 10:30 in the morning, and then of course by the time they play all the trailers and everything, the movie didn't actually start until closer to 11. And then when we got out of the movie, so we went in, it was literally morning time. By the time we got out, it was like 1:30, and it felt like the whole day had passed. So definitely have to like block out some time to be able to see that, because it's a long ordeal, but totally worth it, man. It did not, like I said, it did not feel like 3 hours at all.
Yeah, we went to one of those places because you went to Alamo Draft House, right?
Yeah.
So we went to, I think it was called Cut or whatever, but the same thing. They serve food or whatever. And so I just got like fries to share with the wife, and I was going to order food. And I got so entranced with the movie that by the time I remembered, oh my gosh, I haven't ordered any food yet. I was like, well, it's got to be like 2 or 3 hours in the movie, so I'm not gonna bother ordering it. And then ended up being weird there for a lot longer, so I didn't end up even ordering any food because I was just so into the movie, I didn't even think about it.
I was putting popcorn in my mouth like this and just like not knowing where to go as I'm like watching, you know, like I'm not even gonna look down and eat that, you know. Oh, it was so great. It was so great. Well, I don't want to keep going because I just don't want, just in case, you know, to drop something or spoil anything for those in the chat that haven't seen it or those that watch this later. So
I bet they're very nervous, some of them.
I know they're like, let's come back later, you know, let's come back later. You know what? Carlito just said something that's interesting. He said, Boy Who Had 7, for some reason, YouTube unsubbed me from your channel, so it took me a minute. I have, that's happened to me recently too, man. There's people that I for sure was subbed to, and then all of a sudden, like, I went to their channel and the button's like red, and I'm like, what the heck? I've been subscribed to this person for over a year. Like, how the heck did this happen? I don't know what's going on, man, but thank you, dude, for resubbing. I saw it pop up and I was like, yeah, that's my boy. So
that happened to me, I think, with Jeffrey a long time ago because he accused me of doing it on purpose. And then comic jabroni or whatever, that happened to me. I went to go do something the other day and I was like, oh my gosh. And I think it was like I was answering a question. I was like, man, I felt like now I wasn't subbed to him. He's gonna think I wasn't subbed to him, and I just clicked it just to say something. When I was like, oh no, yeah. I was subbed to him.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Well, before we get into the amateur hour topic today, because Mr. Garrell is going to actually share some of his stories collecting with us. You know, for those of us that are still getting to know him, I felt like I wanted to ask you a question, kind of a getting to know you question. So, and Matt, if you have another question, like, I mean, I guess we shouldn't take too long on it, but just to kind of give us a feel of like where you're coming from. I've got a question for you, Garrell. So the question is, what is your favorite thing about collecting comic books?
Oh wow, I think it's just the stories, the ability to read something and kind of get lost in it. I think that's what it is. I really enjoy the stories and the I guess the world overall. I guess hard to explain. Just the whole being able to immerse yourself in that world and kind of and go away and spend like an hour and don't even realize you've been gone. I think that's kind of what I like about it. Yeah. I definitely like stories more so than collecting grails or buying or selling. Not so much. That's probably why I have way too many books that are thousands and thousands of dollar books. But I just really like the stories part of it. And so I should probably be getting like an online thing, like what is it, Marvel Online? I should probably do that instead of buying dollar books. Comixology. Yeah, I should probably be doing that honestly instead of what I've been doing.
You know what, man? I do both. I've got my books. I read. I've got the grails, and then I've definitely got Comixology, and I had Marvel. What's it called? The Marvel app for a while, but
Unlimited or something.
Yeah, Marvel Unlimited. But Comixology and Marvel Unlimited kind of overlap in a lot of things, so I just stuck with Comixology, man. And I'm like, I just read because of Comic Tom. I just read. Now look at me going blank here, man. The Red Hellboy. Like I had never read one issue of Hellboy at all, and I was on one of his shows, and I'm like, "Hey, man, where do you think I should start?" And he gave me a couple of ideas, and I saw him there on Comixology, and I started reading one, and I got hooked, and I read another, and I read another, and I think I went through like 5 or 6 different trades, man, because I just couldn't put it down. It was pretty awesome.
So which one's the one that there's one book that they based the new movie on? What is it called?
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not too sure.
I heard somebody talk. Maybe it was Comic Tom talking about it. I can't remember, but I remember him talking about it.
So yeah. So what happened was I went. It was actually when I went to go see Into the Spider-Verse. They had already announced that the new Hellboy movie was coming out, and then of course I watch Comic Tom videos too, and he's always talking about how much he loves Hellboy, and so. The Alamo Draft House that I went to has a comic book store in the movie theater. So before I went to the movie, I stopped by the comic book shop and I picked up one of the trades for Hellboy, and it was whichever one the new movie's based on. Where they go, The Hunt, I think. That's
it. That's it. I think it's The Hunt. I think you're right.
Yeah, and so I was really excited because I asked the guy, you know, which one, where do I start? Because I know there's so many Hellboy books. What's a good one? And he admitted to me, he's like, I'm not really that big of a Hellboy fan, but if you want something that's more that the movie's based on, a lot of people seem to be interested in this one. And so I bought it, and I was super excited to read it. And man, it was boring.
Wow.
I
No way, dude.
I was sitting there, and you know what? I even sent a message to Fire Guy Ryan. I was like, man, I tried this, and it bored me to death. Like I finished it because I thought, you know, at any minute now it's gonna get good. And I actually liked the first two Hellboy movies. I thought they were really fun. So I was kind of disappointed. And I thought, well, you know, maybe Hellboy is just not for me. Maybe I'm just a movie guy. But you know, I definitely want to try another book before I quit on it. But I was really disappointed by that first one.
You know, I ended up starting right at the beginning, and I worked my way through, and I loved the art. I loved, and I don't remember the title, but there was one where he got into Dracula, and it was so good, man, that it just brought me in. And he has such a different way of telling stories, and it's got this darkness, but Hellboy is like kind of dorky, and I don't know, man. I just really enjoyed it. I did.
Well, maybe I should try one of the earlier ones, man. Maybe that was the one.
Yeah, I would maybe try the first one, man. Just right up top, right up front, start it there, and then see how you feel. Of course, Comic Tom told me not to start with that one, but it was there. It was the first one. I clicked on it, and I enjoyed it, man, for sure. So, Mr. Garrell, who is your favorite superhero?
I don't know. I was doing a set of videos on my channel about trying to find my favorite superhero. And me and the wife were just talking about that today, because I was telling her I try to start putting some lots together for eBay to get thin some of these things out. Because I wish I would have kind of found that beforehand, because I wouldn't have just so many comic books.
Yeah.
If you ask my kids, they would say it's Venom. So right now I would say Venom, just for popcorn and action, is great. Doctor Strange, because I really like the idea of mixing magic with the comic book world. I don't know why it is. I like Dr. Fate on the other side.
Cool.
And then I would say Thor, just because Kirby. I like the art from those old. I can't really afford them, but I like the art from those old-timey books. So as far as just Die Hard, that's my favorite comic book. That's hard. I don't really know if I still figured that out yet.
So it sounds to me like you're more of a Marvel guy.
Yeah, which is weird, because when I was in the 90s, when I was a kid, I was DC only. Like, I liked Green Lantern, and I still like Batman. The problem with liking Batman is that everybody likes Batman, and I'm kind of like weird like that. Like, if everybody likes it, I'll be a fan of it, but I'm like, I'm not going to promote it because everybody likes Batman. I think it's another reason why I hate on Deadpool so much, because I don't like the actor. I think he's horrible, but I think that's why I hate on Deadpool so much, because everybody likes him. I'm like, why? He's annoying, and I just think it's because I just think it's because I'm just being weird.
Wait, so you're not going to go watch the new Detective Pikachu movie? I take it.
No, I really do not like Ryan Reynolds. I don't know what it is. It just bothers me. But I will say this. Every movie he's ever been in, it's kind of like an argument I used to have about Will Smith. Will Smith plays the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in every movie he was been in. He's had a few that he didn't. And I would say every movie he's in, Ryan Reynolds has annoyed me. And I want to really hate him in the Deadpool role, but I feel like since the day he was born, that smart aleck, wisecracking guy only made sense for the Deadpool. Like, he should not play any other characters but Deadpool. Like, it's really, and I do respect how much he's like got into the character, and he does all kinds of funny stuff all the time on Instagram and all these other places. So I respect it for that, but I still don't like him. I don't know what it is. Maybe because he's just so physically attractive, I just hate on him or something. I don't know what it is. But...
Texas 3507 says hater in the building.
Yeah, it's got this guy. I'm not denying either. It's probably because he's the guy who got all the girls in high school, and I just hate him from the background or something.
That's awesome. Cool, man. I love Thor. I love Doctor Strange, and I love Venom. Venom and Venom's like one of my favorite villains, and then anti-heroes ever, man. Like, so I feel you on that one, man.
Yeah, the thing about Doctor Strange, I like Doctor Strange in the older books, and I like Doctor Strange as an idea. The only issue that sometimes I'm having with Doctor Strange a little bit is whenever Marvel has like an event, and I don't want to say it's lazy writing, but they don't have a way to explain what happened. Yeah. And Doctor Strange shows up, waves his hands about, and reverses time or does something, then leaves again. I'm like, it's like they almost didn't know how to get out of that situation. So Doctor Strange shows up. Like, it's just kind of a weird. Sometimes I don't like that.
I
don't like that sometimes, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Or sometimes he's too OP that they don't use him that way too. Sometimes, So that's cool, man. Anything else you're thinking of, John?
No, I think we're good, man. Let's start talking about our mistakes.
Sweet. So for those of you that are just joining us today, if you're not familiar with the show, this is Amateur Hour, where we kind of just go over mistakes that we've made in our comic book collecting. We want to share it with you guys in hopes to save you from making the same mistakes. And we reached out to the community. And for those of you watching right now, we want you to be a part of the show. So as you're listening today to Mr. Garrell share, the things that he went through to help you guys not go through those. If you've got something you want to share, message me on Instagram or message John, and we'll get you on the show. We want to start having a special guest every time we do this from now on. So, I mean, we want you guys to be a part of this. And, Mr. Garrell was kind of like, well, I don't know, I'm new into it. It doesn't matter, man. We want to hear from everybody. We want to hear what you guys are going through because it can help somebody. If you can help just one person, we've done our job. Right, guys?
That's right.
Sounds like an after-school thing. If we can just help one person.
That's right. Dare, like Comic Head 84 is Dare shirts. Did you guys do Dare when you were in school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had Dare. Yeah, we definitely had Dare.
I saw wearing that. Boom, flashback, man. I loved it. So anyway, we want to get into some of the mistakes that Mr. Garrell may have made, or maybe not even a mistake, but something that happened to him and kind of what he learned from it. So I'm going to turn the time over to you, brother, so you can tell us your story about your X-Men book and let people know what happened.
All right. So the first thing before I forget, I will say there's a tip, which I'm sure I'll probably wait to the end, but I always forget that kind of stuff. As I would say, if you're into collecting and you like it and you're worried about it, the thing that kind of fast forwarded me and got me focused was Instagram, honestly, being in a group or just talking to people. Most people are pretty cool about it. And they will help you out with stuff. If they'll say, no, that's stupid, don't pay that for that. Or here, look at this. You know what I mean? Like they'll help you with that if you're, like I said, because I don't really have an LCS near me. When I do a Google search, they're about 35 miles. And if you know anything about Dallas traffic, that's a long 35 miles. So
yeah.
But I did visit when I decided I wanted to. I did visit an LCS one time, and I walked into the store, and I was honest with the guy, and I said, hey, I was collecting comics when I was a kid in the 90s. I haven't been doing it since. And I asked him for some advice, and well, the first thing he told me was, I can't really give you advice. I don't know what you like to read, and I was like, oh, that's fine. So we got to talking, and I told him I liked X-Men, and we got to talk for a little bit more. And I feel like, oh, this is my buddy, right? This is a good friend. Yeah. He's helping me out. He seems pretty cool. He's, oh, I remember that too. I remember that too. And after about 20, 30 minutes of us talking, he goes, oh, you know what I have for you? It'd be awesome. And I said, what? He goes, yeah, I got something cool. And he reaches underneath the desk and pulls out a comic book. And it was X-Men. I think it's 129, I believe is what it is. It's the first
Punisher.
It's the first Kitty Pryde, I think is what it is.
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah.
That's, I can't remember off the top of my head.
But anyway, and he showed it to me. He told me who she was. I knew who she was. And it kind of reminded me of the last time you guys did this with Sasquatch, where he was saying, oh, there was too good of a deal to be true. I kind of liked the Batman Who Laughs, but it was kind of one of those things. And I knew her, and I knew she was an X-Men, and I got very excited. I was thinking, this is really cool. And he was like, yeah, this book is normally, hundreds of dollars. And he goes, but, it'll be like a little nice help you out situation. And I'll give it to you for $40. And I was thinking, wow, that's a really cool thing you're doing, man. Are you sure? And I mean, I like a sucker. I even asked him, are you sure? Man, I don't want to do that. You got to run a business. He's like, no, man, let me help you out. And I said, great. I got the book. Yep. I did not look at it. I didn't even flip it over because I felt like I would be insulting him if I looked at it too closely because he was doing me a favor. And so I didn't pull it out of the bag. I literally didn't do anything but hand him my money and left. And then I got home. I was very, very excited. Of course, I told the wife, which I've heard about several times since, about this amazing book that I have bought.
Yeah.
And I opened up the bag, and when I pulled it out, obviously something was wrong because it was as wavy as a wave. It had clearly had extreme amount of water damage. The staples are extremely rusty. and you flipped it over in the back, it had all kinds of mildewy little things going on. And I assume that book is not worth $40 to this day. And so I did actually send it to Barbarian, and he said he did a pretty good job at pressing it, but obviously with the rusty staples and everything else, you know, it's, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, it was just that. It was, I mean, I hate to say not to be too trusting, but like I really thought like, hey, this guy's cool, he's really nice, and I didn't want to insult him by like looking at the bag. And obviously looking at it now, you're not insulting anybody if you look inside of a bag, of course not. But, and I think he was kind of, you know, expecting that, because he was talking real fast, like, hey, here you go, and all this stuff. And yeah, and I got stuck now with a very expensive water damaged X-Men book.
So it's this one, correct?
It is that one.
Yes.
That is absolutely it.
I don't know why I said Punisher. Every time I hear 129, I think of Amazing Spider-Man 129. But yeah, it was X-Men 129 for sure.
Yeah.
So From Heroes to Icon says, never buy an old book when you come back into collecting. Pick up a few current titles. Wet your feet. You got to ease into it. Always look at your books like you would look at a woman all over. So you gotta look that thing up and down and make sure it's the right copy that you want, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Alex the Comic Quarter stopped in. That is my boy. What's up, Alex? How are you, man? Thank you for coming in. He's saying he would buy that book for $40 as long as it was complete, and not to feel too bad because I'm sure it's still got a decent value on it. So
well, that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Make you feel much better, man.
Yeah, it does.
And then Tech 31 Kid says, gotta insult raw books and I guess look them over and count pages at any price for me. So he's gonna open that up and look at everything. Really good.
I do. Not even right now. That's a piece of advice I didn't even think about. I know I've heard like Comic Tom's channel. I've heard them talk about counting pages for like golden. Yeah. Golden there. But you know what? I don't even 100% know, because it was one of those things where I was like, it was pretty clear. And the other part that I'm not being completely honest about is that it actually had, when I opened it up and took it out, it actually had a piece of paper that was down in there that said $10. So I am not 100% sure if it was originally supposed to be $10. But when I saw the condition of the book, I literally never even read it. So I don't even know if it has all the pages or anything, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so, I mean, John, what are you thinking, man? What does he need to do to avoid something like that happening again?
I mean, to me, this has a lot of similarities to one of your early stories, man.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, I'm wondering if you went to the same shop that you
It's in Texas.
No, I don't think Texas.
But, you know, I mean, it's one of the big mistakes that I think a lot of us make early on, is that, you know, you get into the you get back into the hobby, and then you get really excited about it, especially if you're on YouTube or on Instagram. You start noticing what other people are doing, and you want to play with the big boys, man. And a lot of times, what it gets us to do is, like, we set foot into that comic shop for the first time, and who knows how long, and you know, we want to make friends. Like, everybody wants to be friends with their comic book guy. Yeah. And you said it yourself, Garrell, like, you didn't want to insult the guy. You didn't want to open it up and inspect it in front of him because you didn't want to hurt his feelings. You know, you thought that he was trying to give you a good deal. And so, you know, one of the big mistakes is, you know, you didn't do your research, obviously. Like, you went in there blindly. You, number one, didn't know what you were looking for, you know, and even if you had, like, you didn't know what to look for that particular book. And so, you know, if you have a certain book in mind that you're trying to purchase, it's always good to go out there and, you know, see what they're being sold for on eBay, what the sales prices are, you know, see what other people are buying them for, see if there's any shops online that are selling them for cheaper. There's been times where I've gone to my LCS and they like to sell their Silver Age books, and I think they jack up the prices, you know, maybe because they have a higher overhead because they have a brick and mortar store. But, you know, does that mean that I want to pay that extra money? Not at all. Not necessarily. Now, occasionally, like my LCS does a stamp card system. So for every 10 stamps you get $10 off of your purchase. So sometimes I'll save up those stamp cards and then I'll use that to buy a Silver Age book. But nice. Otherwise, it's pretty dangerous. And that's you know, what Tech 31 Kid was saying about counting pages. That's another really good tip. I gotta be honest, like I don't, out of habit, like I don't count pages. Like a lot of times, like I take the seller's word for it. And so that's something that I think a lot of people, even some of us more experienced collectors, don't necessarily do. Um, which might not matter anyway, man, because if you ever sell the book, then it's cheaper shipping because it weighs less, right? So win-win for everybody.
Yeah. You know what? I recently purchased a Fantastic Four book on Instagram, and I got it in. I every time I get my books, I put my phone up above me, I press record, and I open the whole thing recorded. I just got burned in the past on eBay, and so I record everything. Then I get the book out, I pulled it open, I examined the front, I examined the back, I opened the pages, looked at the page numbers, and man, I felt like so cool. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this right. Because before we started doing this show and before we started thinking of all these things, there were times where I bought books, didn't even take it out of the plastic, just, okay, the front looks great, got it, good to go, you know? And I got burned on a couple of those that I sent into CGC, and it looks like a 9.8 in the front, and it comes back in 8.0. I'm like, what happened? And then you open the book and you see why, or you look at the back cover and you're like, oh, if I had looked at the back cover, I would have never sent this into CGC. So yeah, man, I felt like a boss looking through that Fantastic Four book this last week.
And I find that to be a common theme, and I know that's definitely something that I've experienced myself, even to this day, man. Like, we don't want to upset our comic book guy. Like, we want to be in with the guy, right? Like, we want him to like us. We want him to give us the good deals. We want to have this like really good relationship.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there's always those ones that will take advantage of you. But why do you think that is, that we all want our comic book guys to like us so much? Like, why aren't we more confrontational with them?
I ask myself that all the time, and this is why we started this show, because I got so screwed over by this guy, and it was all because I wanted to be nice and I wanted to trust him. And the same with Mr. Garrell and his story today with X-Men 129. You want to have a friend. You want to believe that there's somebody out there that's your boy, that's looking out for you. You know what I'm saying? And we just get suckered into it. But I'm grateful that we have those experiences, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you're on Instagram, and some of you guys in the chat may have seen this too, there's a lot of fake sellers popping up all over Instagram recently. There's a lot of scammers. And one of my friends was telling me just last week that he saw a book, he liked it, told the guy he wanted to buy it, and the guy's like, okay, this is what it's going to cost. And it was like $300 less than it should cost. And he like, oh, red flag. That's all it's going to cost me. I think it was like $80 for an ASM 300.
Oh,
like in a near mint. No way you're going to get that book for $80, And so he stopped, and then he did the thing that I kind of told last show. Okay, I'll buy it PayPal, but not friends and family. I'm going to do it goods and services. And the guy threw a hissy fit. He's like, no, I'm going to get all kinds of fees. I can't do it. Come on, man. I'll even lower it. And he knew, like, red flag. And so I don't know if you guys have seen, but people are putting all these scammers on blast on Instagram.
Yep.
And I've had like 3 or 4 of these guys that are on blast follow me. And I'm about to follow him back. I'm like, this looks weird. Like, every picture is different. It looks like different hands in the pictures. Like, these guys are just scrolling through, copying and pasting these pictures, and then trying to sell them and get one over. And so
I think that I think Reggie did a story about that exact ASM,
Did he really?
I think. Yeah, I think so. And he was saying that when he looked into it, like maybe even came from China or something with the original. Or maybe it was an eBay. I think it might have been eBay, but I think it was exactly the same thing, like $80 for ASM 300 on eBay or something. And the original listing was from like China or something.
Yeah, see, not cool at all. Yeah, and Texas 3507 saying he found a fraud today on Instagram. The guy has already changed his username 3 times.
So I was gonna start doing some videos on my channel because people were saying that, and it would be still user beware. But I was thinking, when I was thinking about some videos, doing a video of because I've probably bought from like 6 or 7 people, And I was going to do a video saying, hey, here, just real quick, like 5-minute video. I bought from this guy. He did awesome. I've bought over the last year. I bought 3 or 4 times from him. I've had no issues with him. And just doing that for the few people that I bought, and even asking other people, hey, who have you guys bought from? And then just making that like hey, this guy's A-okay. This guy's A-okay.
Yeah.
Not a scammer. Now, I don't know what's going to happen if thought the book was good quality, thought it was going to be, but he's definitely not a scammer. Like I bought from like 5 or 6 times. Because that happened to a Barbarian too. He bought a book and was very excited because he was going to get a Stan Lee, I think, signature. And the guy just shut down shop and never saw him again.
Oh man, that hurts, man. Because I like Barbarian a lot.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Cocoon saying we need to create a list of test questions that will red flag a seller or LCS owner, and that's such a good idea.
It is. He's Australian and still had a good idea like that.
Throwing the jabs, man. Throwing the jabs. You know what, man? I think the reason the Instagram idea popped up, because you're not just going to trust anyone on Instagram and send your money. But sometimes when you're in an LCS shop and the guy's like, hey, have some sodas. Let me throw in a free book for you, and you're face to face, you don't want to open the book and examine it in front of them. But we've got to do that every time, no matter what, man.
And since I've had the Instagram club thing, a couple things happen. One thing I would say as a heads up is, yes, you got to keep your eyes open for. I've heard people say this for cons. So you got to keep your eyes open for that awesome once in a lifetime deal. But if you've never tried to buy for, let's say, Doctor Strange, and somebody is like, oh, this is a pretty good deal on LCS, and you've never done any kind of research for Doctor Strange, you might put yourself in a position where you might overpay or something might happen. And I've had that a couple of times where I've actually got on Instagram, got into the little comic book group and said, hey, what does this book usually go for? Or this guy went in this LCS wants to charge me 100, and then it would come back, walk away. And I'm like, because it was that's a cool book that I've always wanted to get. And then in my head, I probably would have bought it because I'm like, oh, this opportunity, this is really awesome. I've always wanted this. And they're like, no, walk away. And that helps a lot.
I like it. It's like, who wants to be a millionaire? You're going to call for your lifeline, right? John, what were you going to say earlier, man?
I was going to say, since it's happened to all 3 of us, maybe it's just a Texas thing, man. Maybe we're just too friendly. I'm reading through the chat, and from Heroes to Icons said, being from New York City, you always feel like someone is trying to get one over on you. Yeah. It just can't be helped. So I don't know. Maybe we got some New Yorkers moving to Texas and opening up comic book shops, and we're just too trusting, and they're taking advantage. I don't know, but there's just something about it, man. I was gonna say not inspecting your book in person, at your LCS, is the equivalent to paying friends and family and to a seller that you don't know.
Yep.
I was gonna say something else to Garrell, but I totally forgot. So
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
From Heroes to Icon has me thinking. I just went to New York for the first time in March, and man, what an experience! But my son, one of the nights we got back, it was 11, and the orchestra teacher's like, all right, you guys can go out and stay out till 2 a.m. And I'm like, are you kidding me? These are kids. She's like, no, I trust them. I'll let them. And I'm a chaperone, so I'm freaking out here. I can't watch all these kids that are gonna go. And so my son went out with a group of about 10 kids. I was like, all right, as long as you all stick together and don't break off, it's cool. Call me if you need me. It's technology age, so I can get over there real quick. So he says that they're walking down the street, and a guy comes up to them on the corner, and he's like, here, I got this CD that I just made, man, and it's awesome. Take it. And he tries to, he hands it to one of the kids, and the kid takes it. And he's like, all right, now give me the money for it. And this kid's like, oh, no, I don't need it. He's like, no, you already grabbed it. Give me the money for it. You have my stuff, And oh my gosh, so my son calls me right away, but one of the girls, she had some good attitude, and she's like, get out of here, man, this is hard to get your CD, and she threw it on the floor, man. And so the man starts cussing at her, and so all the kids had to get around her to protect her and move her away. And so some other New Yorkers, and this is what made me think of this, from Heroes to Icon, they came over, they're like, hey, leave those kids alone, you know what you're doing, started yelling at him and stuff. And so it has me thinking we got to have a little bit more attitude when we go into these buys, right? So we can take care of ourselves like these New Yorkers, man.
One of these days, man, what we need to do is me and Garrell need to go down to El Paso. We need to pay your old friend a visit.
I know, right? You do. You do.
See, what we should have done is you should have told me to start off camera, and then I could have went down there and visited myself, and nobody would have put any connection. No 2 + 2 would have came up,
Right?
like strangers on a train kind of situation.
Yeah, you see from Heroes to Icons, like, oh no, you're from Texas, man. Keep those kids in after 10 in New York City. Yeah, man, it's the lesson learned for sure.
That's a funny story about New York, and that happened to me sort of kind of in Screwston when I used to live in Old Houston there. I was at a gas station, and a van pulled up with all kinds of screwed and chopped stuff on the side, and the guy was like, hey, there's a CD and I said, oh, that's awesome, and he was handing it to me, and as soon as I went to put my hand on it, he was like, yeah, it's like $30. And I put my hand away, and he said, what, you don't like my CD now? And I'm like, no, I'm good, man. I'm like, $30 for that. Some van that just pulls up randomly at the gas station. Get out of here.
Yeah, man. Don't be grabbing stuff like that. Carlito says he lives in Chicago, so he's got that edge too. I bet you do, man. I bet you do. I love it, man. I love talking with you guys. This is fun. This is fun just hanging out, laughing, having a good time, and dropping some knowledge while we're at it, man.
Hey, I was gonna say, I remember what I was gonna tell Garrell.
Yeah.
So you were talking about, like, and I've been thinking about this for a while now. The stories that you hear about other people going out and finding that, like, really heck of a deal at like a con or at a garage sale or something like that. And I guess here's a question for you guys. Like, do you guys think that the majority of those posts are real, or do you think people are just trying to flex on Instagram?
You know what, man? I've had some amazing finds. 100% truth. You know, like when I found like those 7 copies of Thanos 13.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh,
like I really did find them in some old lady's shop underneath, like in all these boxes. Like I had to dig for them, man. And when I saw them, it was like I hit gold, dude. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you know, she charged me cover price, and I flipped them all for $75 or more, you know? So, I mean, it does happen. It does happen. But I see guys that'll post like, oh, I just found a New Mutants 98 Near Mint Plus for $1. And that one, I'm like, man, I want to believe it. So I'm like, that's so awesome. But sometimes you're like, wow, I wonder if that really happened. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Garrell. What were you going to say, brother?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, yeah, I've noticed that too. And I think it's probably fine. But I have noticed where some people I follow, I'm not going to throw any names out there, they always seem to find like really good deals. Not like crazy. I found New Mutants 98 for $1. But it's like a book that's like 40. They got it for $5 or $10, and it's happened like 4 or 5 times a week for like the months I've been following them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, probably no doubt they're getting deals, but maybe they're subtracting or dividing by 2 what they actually paid for the book. You know what I mean? Like I always feel like that's probably the case. Like I know that Kachung claimed he found all these books for like 10 cents. I think that's completely made up, and he's lying through his teeth. But other than that, I trust most everybody else.
Oh shoot. I love it. And he's right there in the chat, right there.
I looked over to make sure you're still there before I said. I looked over. I was like, yeah, he's still there.
What do you think, John?
You know, I've never had that luck, man. Like, and again, like I always kind of equate that to maybe being from San Antonio, because you know we've got a pretty substantial nerd culture here. A lot of people collect comic books. A lot of people collect pop vinyls.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think Funko came out and said that San Antonio was one of the highest selling cities for pop vinyls in the entire country. And so I don't know if it's just that I live in a city where there's too many other savvy collectors, or if and that's why I wonder about it, because I go comic shopping at least once or twice a week. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I need to go more. But you know, I have all these different spots that I go to, and I've never had like a major find. Like I've found some pretty good deals, like what Garrell was saying. Like, you know, I may have gotten like a $20 comic for $10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But to find like a Grail book for like, you know, pennies on the dollar, that's never happened to me, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I've the best ones I've had are like those Thanos 13s, and but you know what? I put in some work too. I went to last year. I went and visited Washington State, and I stopped by 4 different comic shops, and 3 of them were on the up and up, dude. They knew exactly what was on, what was hot, and so they had all those books pulled out up on the shelf, high prices, you know. So as soon as I walk in, I see Thanos 13 up there. I'm like, crap, this is not a place I'm gonna find anything, you know. And so I went to the next shop, but then I went to one, and I walk in there, and I think I paid about $75 for all the books I bought. I think I bought maybe like 30 or 40 books, and I think I sold everything for over $1,000, man. Like I found some stuff there, dude, and they had all their boxes just thrown everywhere. Like they didn't care. They didn't really talk to me. They're like, do your thing, man. There's just whatever you want to look through. And I spent like 3 hours looking through every box and like, oh, I know that one. Oh, I know that one. So it's out there, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, you got to put the work in.
I think San Antonio has to be like the land of the overpriced comic book. Because I'll even go to flea markets, and I'm like, you know, if you're at a flea market, I don't expect you to charge like what a comic book shop would charge, because you're not paying as much in overhead.
Yeah.
Man, some of these guys are charging like they're Midtown Comics or something, man. Like it's crazy. Selling out of the back of a pickup truck. I even heard a conversation where these two guys were selling, and this guy had all these old books, and he was charging like some of the price tags were like in the thousands of dollars. And the other guy was like, why do you bring those books here? Like nobody, it's a flea market. Like nobody's going to buy them. And then he was complaining, and he was like, I don't understand why everybody expects me to lower my prices. These books are really expensive books. And I'm like, dude, it's a flea market, man. Like you can't expect to come to a flea market and there's going to be a dude that's going to drop, you know, $1,200 on a comic book. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I've never tried to shop at a flea market, but I can guarantee you I'm not going to flea market with like $2,000 in my pocket waiting for that book to come by.
Right.
Like I'm not having $2,000 in my pocket at a flea market.
Yeah. There's a couple flea markets here in town, but they're in kind of like some shady areas, and they're really early Saturday and Sunday mornings. And so like I haven't tried to go yet. Usually Saturday mornings I'm getting up and getting my kids ready for soccer games and stuff. Got to get them to eat and get them healthy and ready to go, you know. But one of these days, I'm going to go try one of those flea markets, man. And I may even take my GoPro and just record the whole thing and check it out, because it's a brand new experience for me, you know?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool, man.
It'd be fun, right?
You know, I have a lot of friends through Instagram that are out in the California area.
Mm-hmm.
And California seems to be like a hotbed for like really insane deals on comic books. Like I'm always hearing stories from those guys of like these insanely like high priced books that they've got. So like I have a friend named Norman. He's in the CVM chat with me, and he found Silver Surfer #1, which is that big premiere issue.
Yeah. Which
we all know is like a $900 book, and he found it for $15.
Oh man, that's nice.
And it's out, like he's getting it pressed and cleaned, and he's gonna get it graded.
Yeah.
But you know, $15 for a Silver Surfer #1, like even if it's in a rough condition, like that thing's got to be worth at least $200 or $400, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's crazy, man. But it seems like I hear that more in the California area. I don't really hear it so much from Texas. You know, I guess there's maybe these little hotspots, but I thought, you know, California, that's where they make all the movies. Surely everybody over there knows their superhero books, but
yeah,
it's not the case over there, man.
Maybe because the weather's so awesome in California and over there on the west. Because I know that in Bueller's there, they're always talking about stuff they can find over there too. Maybe the weather's always so great that they just stay outside and play, and they don't have to be in like us in the air conditioning for 9 months a year reading books. So maybe they just don't care about them as much as we do.
Yeah.
That could be it, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe the amount of people that live there, the amount of money that flows through those places, you know, like I was talking to a couple of the LCS owners here in town, and they're just like, the El Paso's dry already. Like all the books that you could have found here, it's dried up, man. And I'm still hoping there's some like old man that wants to sell me his books somewhere, you know, or I buy a house here in town and there are a bunch of books in the attic, but
knock down a wall and you find all the books in the wall.
That's right, man. If I did Action Comics #1, you know, I don't know. But I love that hunt feeling. And Antonio Santiago was saying like that's what keeps him collecting, is going out, finding a book that you're going to be able to flip for some more money. That excitement that you get in that moment, it's so great that you want to keep doing it, you know? And so like, I love, just recently I've been telling my wife, we're going to take little business trips and we're going to go and we're going to hit 4 or 5 comic book shops at different places, you know? And so we did it in Albuquerque, and it was the same thing. Like 3 of the shops, they were on the up and up. They knew what was going on. I wasn't going to find anything there. And then I found one little shop, and I found 5 copies of Naomi #1. And you know what I'm saying? And you're and John, you're the one that told me all about that book, brother.
I was gonna say he's got
saw it and I was like, mine. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Good stuff.
So yeah, there was a guy that told me, I think it was Jimmy Drew Comics on Instagram. Because I bought some books from him. He's gonna be one of the people that I probably do a video about because he's been really cool. He actually dropped them off at my house. He was really cool. And I was telling him, man, I live out here and there's not a lot of LCSs. And he said, oh, try. I think it was like Titan Comics or something like that. And it's a little bit of a drive. It's like 30, 40 miles away. And I go over there and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's like nerd heaven. I've never seen so many books because most of the LCSs around here are Magic the Gathering spots with some comics off to the side. And so it's comics everywhere. And I'm like, man, I can find some stuff. And there's all these drawers you could pull out. And I look up and there are 2 employees that have their phone out on eBay and or the app, the thing that everybody uses now. And they're going through there and they're just, I guess, double checking prices. And I was like, well, I'm not going to find anything here.
Yeah. Man, all those keys, you see someone doing that. You're like, as soon as I get up to the front, they're going to be like, oh, it was $3 yesterday. But now that I looked at it, it's a $75 book,
Like they have 2 full-time employees and all they're doing is checking all these drawers. I was like, yeah, I'm not probably going to get a good deal here.
Yeah. Let's see. Texas 3507 saying, is the Naomi hype real? All I know is I've sold 2 of them for $75, man. And I bought them at cover price. And I'm keeping, I think I'm going to keep the cover A and B for myself for a while, maybe send them off to CGC because the 9.8s, have you guys seen what price they're going for?
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Holy cow. One just sold for like $900. Like that's insane.
So once I started seeing them, like I think the first I heard was like they were selling for close to 500. As soon as I heard that, and I haven't even talked to you. We haven't talked in a while, Matt. Like, so I went and I got myself a CGC membership, and I don't know if I told you guys the story. Like, I actually found a whole bunch of Naomi's at a couple of LCSs here in San Antonio, which I mean I don't really count this as an amazing deal because at the time when I bought them, nobody knew what they were. All I knew was that I had read this article by Bendis where he was talking about how Naomi was going to be a big deal and she was going to change the entire DC universe. And I kept going back to my LCS and there was always a huge stack of them. And so it was actually like maybe a month and a half after the book came out. And I figured, you know what, if nobody else is going to grab these, I'm going to take a gamble on them and I might be able to flip them to make a couple bucks. And then as soon as I bought, like I went to one store and I bought like 10 copies of it.
I love it.
I went to another store and I bought like another 15 copies of it. So I ended up having like close to 30 of them. Yeah. And then immediately, like as soon as I brought them home, that's when everything started taking off. And so I told my wife, I was like, you know what, I'm going to sell a couple of them just to kind of cover the cost of what I've spent on this. And the rest is just going to be gravy. And so I still have like a whole stack of them. And I sent 8 of them to CGC because that's what I could afford to. Because when you get that membership, they give you the $150 credit. So I spent all that $150 to get 8 of them graded and fast tracked, and we'll see what happens, man. I hope I get some good grades.
Get a 9.8, you let me know. Hey, you know what? If you guys don't believe him too, he showed me like his whole stack, and I was like, "Dang, dude, you're on top of it." And it was when there was no heat on it.
It was so bad at the time. Didn't you tell me that the comic book store you normally go to doesn't let you buy multiples, but because nobody was buying them, they let you get away with it, right?
Yeah, here's the thing. So like one of the stores that I went to, they actually have a sign on the cash register that says that because of the volatile nature of the comic book market, we reserve the right to change prices without notice. So like if you take a book up there and they look it up and it's worth a lot of money, like they can totally change the price on you, and it's posted as one of the rules. There's also like Garrell was saying, like one of the rules is that you can only buy one copy if it's a hot book. But the thing is that like I said, it wasn't like I went in on the day that it came out and like swiped all the issues. It was literally like a month and a half after it came out, and they were just like happy that somebody had finally purchased all these books that they thought they were going to be stuck with. And I just lucked out, man. I've never really speculated like that, and I honestly don't know. It was just kind of a gut feeling that I went with, and hopefully it's going to pay off. We'll see. But I still like. I'm very very interested in it, obviously because I have skin in the game. But I don't know like where it's going to end up. Like hearing a book sell for $900, that's exciting, but it's also kind of scary because I'm like, man, if it climbs up that high, it could easily crash tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I might be stuck with a bunch of graded books that I can't get rid of. So we'll see.
Dude, from everything I hear, though, she is gonna she's gonna change the DC universe, man. And so, it seems like a smart thing that you did. It really does, man. I think you're gonna be okay. And if you saw me one of those 9/8 at half, you're not gonna hurt that bad.
That's the only problem with telling people how many you have, because you're gonna have a whole lot of best friends hitting you up. Like,
Right?
I've been knowing you for so long.
I've actually said to people in the post, are like, I need one. I'll buy one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say when I first heard about that, I was like, well, Marvel's kind of bad about it, and DC hasn't been as bad about it. But who the writer was going over there, I was like, usually the comic book nerds, when you try to force something on them, there's that immediate, get out of here. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to like. But everybody I know that want to hate on it, because I still haven't read it yet, and everybody I know that wants to hate on it, when they read it, they're like, it's actually a pretty good read. It's actually kind of interesting. So I think it could have staying power now. I'm kind of convinced that maybe it's going to be for the long haul.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is it took me a while to finally pick it up and read it, because honestly, the reason that I originally bought it, or because I bought one issue and my wife loved it. Like she, anytime there's like a female superhero character, she wants to try it out, and so that's originally why I bought my first copy. And then she liked it, and she's the one that kind of turned me onto it. But I never read it because I thought, typically my wife and I don't agree on like the titles that we like to read.
I've seen that in some of your videos.
Yeah, and so she loved it a lot, and she was telling me how fun it was to read, and so I was like, well, I'll try it out someday, but I wasn't in a hurry to do it. And finally, actually, last weekend or the weekend before, I had a 3-day week. It was for Easter weekend, I think.
Nice.
I had a 3-day weekend, and I was off on Friday, and she was at work, and I was like, you know what? I finally have some free time. I'm going to sit down and read all the way through this, and I read issue 1 through 4. And man, I couldn't put it down. Like, it was a lot of fun to read. And I've had a hard time finding DC titles that I really enjoy. And man, it was such a cool, just the way that the story was written. The artwork is amazing, man. The artwork's very beautiful. And I was hooked. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers with everybody else. Like, I hope that issue 5 isn't like a complete letdown, because I'm hanging on that edge right now, because I'm hoping it's like they deliver on whatever is being promised.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Time will tell.
Somebody offered 1 through 4 on Instagram the other day, and he's like, I got these for sale. I need to get rid of them. So I asked him, how much are they? And he put $125 shipped. And I thought that was a great price, because just number 1 alone is now like all the way up to $100. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to get it, but I had to run and do something. By the time I came back, someone had claimed it. And I was like, no. Like, oh, man. But hey, there's a couple things in the chat I want to point out, if that's cool with you guys. So let's see. My friend from Heroes to Icon says he was on top of Naomi 1 since day 1. He loves the artist. He knew it was going to be good. And I know that for sure, because I've been seeing a lot of the stuff that he said and things that he likes. So that's pretty awesome. And then they get into this conversation about the comic shops doing what your comic shop did, There's comic shops in town that I don't shop at because they have their variants at a higher price, or because they're changing things up when you like go up to the counter, Like, I hate when you find a book, you go up to the counter like, oh, that book's hot right now, so I got to charge you $75 for it, And Chino is in here, and these guys, they own their own comic shop now. And so he's saying they don't do that, but he also sees the business side of it. If someone's got to make some money, they got to do what they got to do, And at the same time, as a buyer, I know that the guy down the street is selling me the variant at cover price, and these guys have popped it up to $10. So of course, I'm going to go to the cover price guy, And so there's this whole idea of, okay, if I'm buying 20 books a week and I'm buying them at this shop because this guy over here turned me away because of variants, he's losing all my business. And so is he making that up in the extra $10 that he's charging after he probably only paid a quarter for each book? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I had a conversation with somebody, about, like, I think my comment was something like, no wonder all these comic book stores are going out of business, because they're always leaving money on the table. Like, you know, every time somebody posts a book and they're like, I got this $100 book for $10. I'm like, what would it take for a comic book shop to employ one guy whose job it is just to keep tabs of what the price of books are, man? And like every day, go check on Key Collector or go check on, you know, CBSI, like somebody to keep up with the spec stuff. And then his job is to go and reprice everything on a weekly or daily basis. Like, what would that take? Because it would seem to me like, because there's like a small shop here in San Antonio where it's like this one guy that owns it, and he's an older dude. And occasionally I'll go in there and like he doesn't even have internet in the shop. Like, that's how old school it is. And you know, I know for a fact like he's not checking on prices. And like whenever I've gone in there to buy a book off the wall, the first thing that he pulls out is the Overstreet guide. So he's going by like the old school methods. And I thought about telling him like, I had this conversation. I was like, hey man, so why are you using that book? And he's like, well, this is how we used to do it. Like, this is how we've always done it. I didn't bring up CBSI and I didn't bring up all the speculation sites, but you know, in my head, all I could think was like, wow, this guy's going to go out of business if he keeps selling his books for what they were priced at last year.
Yeah.
So does it anger me? No, I don't. As long as it's something like, here's where I kind of draw the line. Like if you're a shop, and we have plenty of shops like that here in San Antonio, if you're on top of your game and I go to buy a book,
It's the
hot book, and I'm there and like I walk into your store and it's $50 and I decide to buy it for $50, cool. Like, that's fine. Even if that's what the price is because it's a spec book. If I go to your store and I dig through your boxes and I try and buy your books and then you flip it on me and you're like, oh, hold on, before I sell it to you, let me just look up what the going price is. Then, you know, I've heard this statement over. It's like, I've done all the work for you. I picked all the good books out of your long boxes, and you know, I did half of your job by showing them or by bringing them to your attention. That's where I kind of have an issue. Like, and I think maybe a good compromise is like, if I find a book in your dollar bin that all of a sudden, like we saw that, and actually I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil the end game, but we've seen spec books this week that were dollar bin books that have gone up to the $70, $100 range, right?
Yes, they do.
And so if I took that dollar bin book and I took it up to you, and you know, you were able to look it up on the computer and you said, okay, this is no longer a dollar bin book, but it's going for $70 on eBay. Like, if you compromise and say, okay, since you found it, I'll sell it to you for, I don't know, $50 instead of $70. I think that's a good compromise. But you know, I don't like that like last minute change, because it seems like there's just something like deceptive about it. Like, you feel like you found a good deal. You know, I always feel like stores should honor the prices that they put out there. But I also realize that it's a challenge with the way the comic book market is. Like, every single day, prices are going up and down. So I don't envy them, but it seems like there should be some sort of a system, right? Like, maybe every comic book that's in their inventory should have a barcode, and then that program could be linked to spec prices, and then it just changes automatically, like, you know, through a computer system or something. I don't know.
And that'd be legit, man.
That would actually be the best way.
Before Mr. Garrell, I give him his piece. Chino was saying like 1 in 25 variants, 1 in 100 variants. I don't mind at all. You go in there, these comic shops had to buy like 1,000 books to get that, or 100 books to get that. You know what I mean? So that's cool that those variants are priced higher, because they had to buy a whole bunch of books. It's cost them, so they need to make their money back. I'm talking about just like regular cover Bs going for $15, $10. You know, when I go to shops like that, that gets me like a little frustrated, man. Like, really, like, it's just a regular cover. It's just the B version, you know? Like, why are you charging me an extra $7 for it when the guy down the street's doing it for $2.99, you know? That kind of is what I'm talking about, man. But Mr. Garrell, what do you think about this, man?
Well, I was gonna say, with that beat cover thing, because I have gone to some of the local ones whenever I would go in there, and there would be like people chatting and chatter about like a beat cover, especially like it was like Matina or somebody. They would always be like the chatter, and the book would spike like the day or two it comes out, and then it goes right back down again. So that, I mean, that would kind of bother me if they did the beat cover like that, and then I found out it goes down. But I guess that's the nature of the beast. What I was going to say about the part that would really bother me, I haven't had to do it, obviously, because I don't have an LCS near me, is that you just said you spent like hours digging through somebody's book long boxes to find a 13 or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if I had spent 2-3 hours on your floor digging through your old books that you haven't cared enough to look through yourself, and I spent hours looking for you, and I stick them on top of the thing, and you're like, hold on, let me check these on the internet, I'd probably just walk away at that point. I'd probably just literally go get in my car and drive away. Because like, it's one thing if it's a mistake. I get it, because like I said, I'm a small business owner now, and I understand that, but at the same time, like if you literally see me, like if I own a comic book store and somebody's digging through there for 3 hours, and I thought there's a chance I'm going to look on the computer, I'm definitely going to walk over there at some point and be like, hey, just so you know, it's our policy that when you bring them up to the front, I am going to double check, eBay prices, and maybe like Sasso should say, maybe we can come up with an understanding. I'll give you like half off or 25% off, but just understand. But yeah, if you let me dig through there for like 3 hours and then hold on, let me check eBay, I would probably never walk back in there again.
You'd be so frustrated, man.
Yeah, I would be very upset. Yes.
Do you know how bad my knees hurt? You're gonna overcharge me right now. I totally agree, man. That's crazy.
And then the other thing I would say, totally off topic for a second, but we're talking about the first time I went into the LCS was totally off topic, and I apologize for this. Getting excited, being nerded out, having that moment. And I have never, because I have watched like the guy you were talking about that you thought might be living in El Paso. I have seen those, and I ran up to the display like a little kid at Toys R Us, looking at those statues, and I had no idea those statues cost that much money until the moment I looked in there. I was like, oh my God, look at that Thanos. That is holy Jeebus. That's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just I understand it though, man. It's got to be hard to own a comic book store. It really does, because it's not the vast majority of the people in the world could really care less if comic books even exist, even if they like the movies. They don't have any idea. So it's a very small percentage of us, and by the nature of the game, most of us want an awesome deal. We're not handing out money for free. So
yeah,
I understand. I feel bad for them, but yeah, there are ways you can do business, I would imagine.
Yeah. I like to support the guys that support me. And so like my LCS guy right now, I've told you guys before, I was ordering everything on HTown Comics because I got ticked at that other guy that messed me over. So I was buying from HTown Comics for about a year. And being a YouTuber, I wasn't getting my books until, 2 weeks later after shipping and everything. And I wasn't on the up and up. And I'm like, I've got to be on the up and up. I've got to read what's coming out this week so I can talk about it, And so I went to my local, this new guy that I had never met before. And it was literally my first time in there. And I was like, hey, man, what's up? I was screwed over by another guy in town. I don't want to screw over by you. I buy a whole bunch of books a week, man. Are you willing to gain my business by matching HTown's discount and hooking me up with a free bag and a board for every book I buy? It's kind of bold, But the guy's like, dude, heck yeah, tell me how many you buy. And I told him, he's like, easy, I'll do it. And so I've been shopping with him now for 2 years. He matches their price every week. So he gives me like the 35, 15%, 20% discount, depending on the book. Gives me the free bag and board. And so anytime he has toys in there, even though I see him on eBay for like cheaper, because he hooks me up so much, because we have a great relationship, I want to support him and keep him open. So I'll see like this Thanos that I got back here and Lady Death. I saw it there. I could have gotten it for $10 cheaper on eBay, but I bought it from him because I want him to have that money, because I need him to stay open and I need to let him know how much I appreciate what he's doing for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. If I could find, it's probably good that I don't have an LCS that has some, because like I said, all of mine are just Magic the Gathering. They have the book that's out this week, maybe 2 or 3 previous, and then I don't know what they do with the rest of the books. I don't know where they send them off because they're not big enough to have them anywhere. Yeah. And if I had one that could give me the chance to look through some old stuff and new books, but the last one I went to, I said, he said, oh, do you collect comic books? And I said, yeah. He goes, I've never seen you here. And I was like, well, honestly, because just like you were saying, HTown, same thing with my comic shop. I can get 35% off. They come bag and board no matter what. Yep. I mean, that's hard to beat. Like that's like an extra couple of books a week that I'm getting for free without buying it from you. And he was like, that's impossible. I don't see how that's even possible. And I'm like, well, I'm not lying. Like that's what's happening on the internet. Like, yeah. I would love to support LCS because I think that it needs to be done. But one, there's not one around me. But I don't want to support a Magic the Gathering store who happens to have comics as well. I want to support a comic book store.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What are you thinking, John?
I can't say that that I've ever been to an LCS that I'm totally 100%
Happy with?
satisfied with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I actually have pull boxes at multiple stores because they all kind of do different things for me. But none of them do everything that I want them to do.
Yeah.
And so like it's frustrating because like my favorite one that I've only been to a handful of times, but as soon as I walked in, I was like, wow, this guy gets it. Like this guy loves comics, obviously. Whoever owns this shop loves it. And we were kind of on the same wavelength in terms of like the types of books that they were selling. So like I walked in, there's a bunch of indie books on the wall. Very really cool organized store, very clean. It was small, but it was as big as it needed to be. It wasn't like packed full of pop vinyl figures and action figures. Like it was a comic shop.
Mhm.
And the other cool thing that they did was like their employees would do like their pick of the week, and they'd write little captions of like why you should read this book and why
Oh,
this
that's
one.
cool.
And I love that because when I lived in Austin, I used to go to Waterloo Records when I collected records, and they did kind of the same thing. Like every Tuesday, I think is when the new music comes out, and you go in there, and they'd have this wall, and each employee would say, "This is my pick of the week, and this is why you should listen to this band." And it's just like
That's cool.
what both of you guys are basically saying is like what we all want from a comic shop is a relationship with our comic guy, right? As weird or creepy as that sounds, like we want that, like that connection with that person, which is in many ways why we connect online, right?
Yeah.
And so like part of what frustrates me is like, man, if I had the money to start a comic shop, I would.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it would if I had that much money, I would probably give it a second thought, just because it seems like such a risky business. But even you haven't said that, like I wonder if like maybe like these guys just don't really understand like exactly what it is that a comic book or like a comic book fan is looking for. Like, and to me, it is all about that. Like when they remember your name, when they like. So one of my LCS is like I walk in and the dude already has my pull box. Like he has my stack of books that like are ready to go. They don't quite know me by name because it's a pretty popular a comic book store, but at least he knows what my pull box number is, and that's more than my other shop does. So
That's cool.
it makes me feel kind of special that he knows when I'm walking in, like he knows exactly what I'm looking for. So I don't know, like I feel like if I opened a shop, like that's what I would want to do. Like I would work there, like as the owner, I would show my face there. I would shake everybody's hand as they walk through the door. I would get to know each person on a personal basis.
Yeah.
And that's how you gain loyal customers. And in this business, I think that's what it's all about. Like it's about customers like you, Matt, who are willing to pay an extra $10 just to support, your comic book guy.
Yeah.
And I think we would all do that. We would all throw a few extra bucks to our favorite comic book guy, if we felt like they truly had our best interest at heart and like they're watching out for us. Like we're going to watch out for them if they're watching out for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that, the comic book, well, at least here in San Antonio, like these guys have a lot to learn about what makes a good comic shop. It's not about having the biggest variety of action figures or pop vinyl figures or, whatever, which I guess helps their bottom line because you're always going to get that person that comes in randomly just to buy a pop vinyl figure for somebody's birthday, right? But
yeah, right.
what do you do for your loyal customers? Like, how can you be that one shop that caters to the diehard fans that are there for the right reasons?
Yeah.
I would say, what is it? Jim's Comics. I remember when I used to watch him a lot he's one of the first ones. Silver Age Dave was probably the first one I watched on YouTube, but he was one of the ones I watched. And I remember he still does it, I guess, but I haven't really watched him in a long time. He did a comic book comic book store shout outs. And what I've noticed is a lot of the ones that people say are their favorites are the ones that have been there. Like he'll say, oh, it's been there for 20 years, been 30 years. And I think the reason why it's probably been there for 20, 30 years because it's doing exactly what you say. It's like there's a reason why these hardcore collectors on YouTube say this is my favorite comic book shop. And there's a reason why it's made it for 30 years because they probably do all those things you're talking about. And yeah, they sell the pop and the toys because, you got to make the ends meet. But like the key is the relationships with the people, Like I don't collect toys necessarily. Well, I have some Star Wars toys, but I don't collect toys necessarily. But I guarantee you, if I found a really cool LCS and they had a awesome Doctor Strange toy, I'm going to buy it from him. Even if I can find it $10 cheaper on eBay, I'm going to buy it from him. That's right there. Why wouldn't I buy it?
Yeah, that's a good point. Cocoon's getting hugs every time he goes into his comic shop. So, I mean, I'm going to give my guy a hug tomorrow when I see him.
You're not gonna warn them. You're not gonna warn them. You're just gonna
walk around
hug
the
them.
counter and just hug him, man. Cocoon says hi.
Hey, I heard this is what they do when you have a really good one. So bring it in. Bring it in.
Bring it in. Bring it in. That's awesome, man. Yeah, from Heroes to Icon says a real relationship like that takes years, and some shops just don't last that long. My guy bought out the previous owner, but he's known him for 30 years. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Man.
I want, I want a comic book store that's like a good bar, man. Like a good bar always has a good bartender. And like I want a like to walk into a comic shop and it'd be like cheers and they say my name as soon as I walk through the door and like, but I don't know, like, and also comic nerds are like really socially awkward, I feel like, and yeah, it's just, and there's a lot of people for sure, like definitely, and like even so, like I always go at the same time on Wednesday because it's during my break. So I have a break when I'm at work or a planning period, and so I go to the comic store while I'm on that break, and so I show up at the same time. And at the time that I show up, a bunch of other guys show up at the same time, and I've started recognizing them because like one guy wears his military uniform every time, and so I recognize that guy. Another guy wears the same suit every time he walks in. So like we're all in that same time period, but I never like make conversation with those other guys. I just like kind of go in and out, and it's like I'm saying this now, but when I go to my comic shop, I'm just like, oh god, I hope nobody talks to me. I just want to
Bro, I'm over there telling everybody I'm a YouTuber. I'm like, dude, come watch me, bro. Like, I'm serious. I talk to everybody in the shop, dude. I'm like,
do you have business cards with your logo on it? Come on, be honest. Do you have business cards?
Yeah, but I'm doing it, man.
I would say I have a kind of a funny story. Back when I lived in Houston, I knew the area supervisor for GameStop really well. I worked at a restaurant. He came in a lot, and I remember he told me, "Have you been to the store over here lately?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Have you met the young lady's name?" I'm not gonna say her name. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's really cool. She's very knowledgeable." And he's like, "Yeah, it's a problem because she's a super video game nerd. She's amazing. She's one of the best employees I have, but the store is not doing well." And I was like, "Why? Why is it doing well?" And he said he thinks it's because she's a girl. She was pretty, not crazy pretty, but she was pretty. Yeah. And he said when he would go in there, he would notice that the guys would look and they didn't want to come up to the cash register because they're so socially awkward to talk to her about a game. So they would just kind of see her and then stare at her, then turn and walk out. I'm like, so I can understand the social awkwardness because I was like, what? It's a different kind of nerd, but same kind of social awkward.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's hilarious. But seriously, Barbarian's like, dude, John, you got to talk to people, man. Because literally, I've met like 3 or 4 people that are my friends now. And every time I go in there, like we talk, they follow me on Instagram now. They watch on YouTube. Like I found another El Paso YouTuber. And it's cool, man. It's really cool.
Plus, you might have that opportunity where if you're seeing them a lot and you're like, hey, what do you like? And you're like, oh, I like, whatever. Yeah. And the next time you see them, like, hey, did you know in that shop, 3 streets over, they have that book you were talking about? Oh, so give them a hug when you see them next time. Just get in there and give them a big hug and say, I heard this works.
I also love it because I've made a couple friends in town that every time I'm selling books, like they buy a couple from me, And there's this one kid named Matthew, and every time he sees me put stuff up for sale, he's like, all right, I want dibs because I bought from you before I like what you sell, And it's just cool. You just gotta network, I guess, talk with people, make friends, enjoy the hobby, man.
And if you didn't see on the chat, Kachung says one thing that DK Comics does is she brings them food, and that's a great angle. They love her because she brings them food every time she comes in. So I heard that's her angle.
I heard that on one of her their videos I was watching, and they're like, "Yeah, we take them food." I'm like, "It's a good idea."
It's not bad.
Bribery, man. So, well, what do you guys think? Should we get into the tip of the night and then call it after that? Because we've been on about an hour and a half.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
John, you want to roll with that, man?
The tip of the week. Okay, so as any of you guys that have seen one of these shows before knows that not only do we talk about some of the mistakes that we made in collecting, but we also try to impart some of our valuable knowledge onto you things that we've learned along the way that maybe not necessarily common knowledge. So today, I have the tip of the week. Like I was in charge of doing this week, and so my tip of the week is based on something that happened to me early on in my collecting career. So one of the first, well, actually the very first comic book that I ever purchased was the X-Men #1, the 1991 version with the Jim Lee gatefold cover. So
Yeah.
it's called Special Collector's Edition. I think pretty much everybody who collected in the 90s had that book. And so when I got back into collecting, one of the first things that I wanted to purchase, or one of the first big purchases that I made, was I got a graded copy of that same exact comic, which, actually nowadays, like if you get a 9.8, like they can be worth some money. But at the time, it was going for roughly about $65. I think that's what I got it for on eBay. If you have an autograph version, they can go upwards of $100 easily. Sometimes they get up to like $300, depending on who signed it. So like my grail, one of my grails would be like that book signed by Jim Lee and Stan Lee, which would go for like anywhere from $300 to $400, which I'm not going to pay, but I think that would be a really cool book to have. So I bought just the regular graded version with no signatures on it, and I was really happy with the price that I paid for it. So $65. I think I paid for shipping as well.
Yeah.
Then I got the tracking number, and I was at work, and I got the little notification on my cell phone, and it said your book has been delivered. And I got super excited because I think that very well may have been the first slab book that I ever purchased online.
Wow.
And so it was torture having to wait out the rest of the workday knowing that book was sitting on my front porch.
Scary.
And I had just recently, I've only been living in my house now for a little bit less than a year, almost a year, but not quite a year. So at that time, it had only been a few months. And so I came home, I rushed home as fast as I could, and got out of my car, walked up to the front porch, and I noticed that there was no packages anywhere. And I thought, oh man, like, did one of my neighbors steal the package? We got one of those Ring doorbells, and so I've seen a lot of videos of people like catching people stealing packages from their front porches and all this stuff. And so immediately, like, I go and I check the Ring, and like nothing. I didn't have any videos, like any video notifications. And so then I thought, well, is this doorbell working correctly? Like, what's going on? And I checked with the post office, and the post office said, yeah, your book has been delivered. You might want to go check on the side of the house, maybe check on the back porch. Maybe they left it there if they felt like it was going to be vulnerable. And so I did everything. I checked all sides of my house, and it was nowhere to be found. And so the next thing that I did was I contacted the eBay seller, and I said, hey man, so I got a notification saying that the book was delivered, but I'm here at my house and it's not here. And the first thing he asked was like, does anybody else live there? Can you check with them? Maybe they received the package. And so I said, no, my wife is the only other person that lives here, and she's been at work all day, so she did not do that. So then he's like, okay, well, give me a moment, let me check. So he starts doing some research, and he's like, hey, would you mind sending your address to me again? And I said, okay. And so I did. And what happened was, it turns out that the address that he put was 1 digit off. So it had actually been delivered, but it was not to my house. It was my neighbor across the street. So immediately the guy was very apologetic, and he said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. You actually gave me the right address, but the address that I wrote on the box was different from what you gave me.
Yeah.
So he said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and refund the cost of the book, and I'm going to take this up with the post office, and I'll get the refund from my side because I got the book insured. And I said, are you sure? I can just go across the street and ask my neighbor if they have it. And he's like, no, this is why I get my books insured, just in case something like this happens. So in my head, I thought, wow, like, that's insane. Like, this guy was not worried at all about, what happened to this book. Like, he immediately gave me a refund. I was a happy customer because what could have been a really awkward or really big problem, was cleared up right away. Awkward meaning like he could have told me, hey, yeah, go knock on your neighbor's door and ask them for the book, which I ended up doing anyway because I thought, well, I got the refund. can I get the book too? And I walked across the street and I knocked on the door and nobody answered. And they were there. They were just didn't want to talk to me for whatever reason, probably because they had my book.
Yeah.
And so I would have never been able to recover it. So what I learned from that lesson, or from what I learned that day, was that if you're going to be selling comics or sending comics to somebody else, it's really important to get the insurance on your package if you're sending anything. I would say anything over $50. So a lot of times when you're sending mail through, like, let's say USPS, if you send it first class, it would automatically come with a $50 insurance policy already on the package, especially if you're sending it like media mail or something.
Yeah.
But if you're sending a really expensive book, you definitely want to, you can actually upgrade your insurance to cover the cost of the book. So if you're sending a $200 book, you can tell the mail person, I would like to insure this for $200, in which case you'll pay a fee. And a lot of times it's a nominal fee compared to the cost of the book. So if you're sending like a $200 book, you might end up having to pay an extra $2 or $3 to get that insurance. Now, what that does for you is, if I send somebody a $200 book and it gets lost in the mail, not only does it cover me, but it also gives my customer peace of mind, so that I can very easily say, you know what, I'll take this up with the post office. I'm just going to refund your money. And then we can continue to establish that relationship of trust building, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, if your book gets damaged, they will pay the cost of the book, because obviously that book's not going to be worth that much anymore. Even if you do get it back and you try and sell it to somebody else, you obviously can't sell it for the same price. So I was telling these guys before the live chat started, I have a friend who recently sold a Thanos 13 9.8. It was a slabbed book, CGC, and they were able to sell it for $300. They mailed the book, packaged it up correctly, and then the seller, a couple weeks later, emailed him and was like, you know what, I opened the book, and I think that, who knows if the package was dropped or something obviously happened to it on the way to my house, because it looks like the book shifted inside of the slab. And so he sent pictures to the seller, and what had happened was the book had shifted, but the inside of the book had shifted, but the cover had stayed in the same place. So the book had actually separated from the cover at the staple. He's telling us all of this stuff in the chat, and I said, well, wow, like, of course we don't think that it's possible for that to happen to a slab book, because it's not supposed to happen. The slab's supposed to protect it.
Yeah.
But in this case, through some freak accident, the book shifted and it tore the book out of the cover. So I said, well, you know what, man, just, hopefully you got it insured. Like, you should be able to give the guy a refund, and then you should be able to go to USPS and get your money back for the cost of the book. And then, his next comment in the chat was like, yeah, I didn't get it insured.
Oh, man.
Wow. Like, had you paid like an extra $3 or $4, this, you could have saved yourself a major headache. So now, not only did he have to refund the money, he also had to pay the cost of shipping to have the book shipped back to him. And then on top of that, his book is not a 9.8 anymore, and he lost out on basically whatever the money was that he originally paid for it. Yeah. So that is your tip of the day. Your lesson of the day is, if you're going to send out anything over, let's say $50, and again, you can decide on what your limit is. My limit is $50. So if I send out anything that costs more than $50, I always buy the insurance, because you just never know what's going to happen to your book in the mail.
Yeah, I can attest to that, because I sold 100 mystery boxes, like you guys know, and a couple of them got lost. I shipped some stuff overseas to my friend Matilda Gothica in Israel, and Klaus Geeky GMT in Sweden, and both of those packages got lost. But luckily, I had paid for the insurance, and not only do I pay for the insurance, but like what the book is like cost me, or like the boxes, what, like they're $100, right? I didn't just pay $100. I knew what was inside of them and what it was worth. And so I paid for all of that, and it really turned out nice for me, because I was able to, refund people $100 so they didn't feel bad, and I still got them worth of my books back. And so, I mean, I attest, man. And something I want to point out, Tech 31 Kid or 31 Kid is saying, he's had collector's insurance for years. And that's something that I've actually just recently been looking into. And he's so right. They will, if you're shipping books, if you're going to a Comic Con to get your book signed, like this insurance covers all of it. And so it's something that I'm going to be signing up for here in this week. I was actually on the computer filling out stuff today before this. So, but
yeah, I didn't know that existed until I just read it. I was gonna see if you noticed he said that. I was like, that's a really good idea. Wow, collector's insurance.
Heck yeah, especially if you have thousands of dollars worth of books in your home. Like my homeowner's insurance will only cover a certain amount of collector's items, and it's nowhere close to my comic collection. So I had to go to another one that's like a collector's insurance, because they realize, like the one that I'm signing up for, they're like, look, I know you bought your book for $1,000, but it's a comic book and it could be worth 5,000 next week. We will give you the price if it gets lost, gets stolen, gets burnt, whatever. We'll give you the price of what it's worth the day it gets hurt. And I love that, man.
See, I'm still learning stuff, man. I had no idea like that existed. So do you know, like, how much is the monthly cost of collector's insurance?
So for the one that I'm looking at, and there's several, but I got this one from CGC. They sent me an email and they're like, check these guys out. We highly recommend them. I did some research and they've got some really good reviews. And it all depends on how much money you want to insure, and they do it per year. So like for mine, I'm not going to tell you how much of comic books I have. It's kind of embarrassing, but mine is going to cost me about $475 a year. And so
that's not bad.
Yeah, you know, some people are like, that's another book, like I can't do it. But if you lose your books, you'll kick yourself that you didn't have that, man.
Or if you lose your books, you can just send them to my house.
There you go. For some reason, they all just disappeared. No, and yeah, Tech 31 Kid saying it's like $4 a day. Like it's not bad, man. It really isn't. And for me, like, if my house burns down, if burglars break in, if I'm shipping books like I do, it's all covered. So I'll send you guys a link so you can check it out.
So my last question about that is, do they require you to like log all of your collection and take pictures of it so that they know for sure what you have, or like how does that work?
Yeah. So what he told me is, he's like, the best thing that you can do is just take a video slowly of your entire collection. You can do pictures. You can have a log, you can show receipts, but he's like, honestly, we live in the tech age, and the easiest thing to do is just take a video of all your books, right? Take a video of all your books and then just have it on file. And then as long as we know you had that book in your possession, when you sign up, we'll ask for that video and we're good to go. And then anything you add past that, all you got to do is take a picture of it and have it on file and you're good to go. It's really simple. I mean, really easy, man. I really like it. Hey, baby.
That seemed crazy. Yeah, what if you have like, I mean, I know like one of the reasons people put their books in Mylars is because it automatically makes them look like they're higher grade than they are. So if I have a bunch of low grade books, and you know, even if they're, you know, there can be a vast difference in price between you know, a 2.0 and an 8.5, for instance.
Yeah.
How do they know? Like, do you have to claim a grade on it too, like for a raw book?
So yeah, we were talking about that, and he's like, with that one, the best thing to do is to tell us what grade it is with pictures, and when you first get it, and as long as you're telling us that we've got pictures, we're gonna honor it. And he's like, we really don't get into fights with our customers because you're paying for a certain amount of insurance, and if you want to lie about one book and say it's this much, well, then this is how much you have left, you know, and you already paid for it, so we're good to go. You know what I mean? So somebody in the chat is asking for the name of the insurance company, and I'm going to pull it up right now. Let's see here. I'm just getting into my email, guys.
Wow, Tech Kid says his is $1,500 a year. I need to see a video of Tech Kid's collection. That's an amazing amount of insurance.
I saw that.
The video you sent your insurance company. Can you link me to that? Because I would love to see that.
Right. Let's see here.
So if you said that there's only a certain, like, you pay for a certain amount of coverage, so does that mean, like, let's say, you know, your collection is worth X amount of dollars, and you insure it for that much, right?
Yeah.
And let's say, I don't know, a movie comes out and all of a sudden your collection is worth double what it was, right?
Yeah.
You know, if let's say, you know, if your house happens to get flooded or burned down or something like that, will they only pay you up to what you paid for? Like, how does that?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, because
No.
you got a maximum amount of insured, right?
Well, yeah. So they'll only give you up to what you got coverage on. So say you have $100,000 worth of books, right? And you lose $100,000 worth of books. They're going to give you that. Say your books only get like the ones on the bottom get hurt, and you're like, you know what? Those are worth 10,000 for me. You claim 10,000, they'll send you a $10,000 check, and then you still have 65 grand for the rest of the year. You know, so I mean, it's really nice. So the company that I'm looking at, they're called Collectibles Insurance Services, and I will actually put a link. It's www.collectinsure.com, and I got them from CGC. So I really like this company, and I think it was Reggie Simmons that was like, he's like, dude, you guys need to insure your stuff, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. And then I called my insurance up, and they're like, yeah, we'll cover your collectibles up to X amount, and I'm like, that is not. That's not enough.
Like, have you ever seen my YouTube show? Do you
I know,
right? What we're talking about here?
Do you know what a 9.8 is?
I'm just looking in the background of both of you guys, and I'm thinking I still don't need insurance if you guys haven't even bought it yet, because every one of you guys, one book is probably worth more than my entire collection behind you. So I'm still good to this point.
No, that's the problem.
Go, John.
I was gonna say that's the problem. Is like both Matt and I probably should have insurance, and
yes,
yeah. I'm actually like worried about it every day. That's why today I came home and I'm like, okay, I'm filling this out now because I don't know why. I'm just nervous and I don't know. So I just need to get it, and I've got that feeling in my gut, so I better do it, man.
And then you also have a few kids running around, and that stuff is out there. That would drive me crazy. Like I have stuff that if you want to come to if you ever came in this room, you're like, I wonder what's the most expensive stuff. It's the stuff that's slightly out of reach of little hands. That's the and the cheaper stuff that's on the bottom.
Yeah, man. When I first started doing this, like a lot of people like, how the heck do you leave your stuff out like that? You have little kids. But when I started doing it, like my youngest I just started last year. And so my youngest was 6, and she was already at the point where she knows, like, don't touch daddy's stuff, you know? The one thing that scares me is that my kids will play with balls in the house every once in a while, and I've got all these statues up here. And like I got a Thor statue that's worth like $750, but I got a killer deal for like $175. And I mean, it's gorgeous, but if a ball hits that, it's donezo, you know? And so like, but all that stuff can be included in like collectibles and the insurance. And so like I've had to tell them, okay, guys, we're not playing with balls anywhere. I've had to scream a couple times, you know, and be like, guys, you need to get it. But they're pretty good, man. They're pretty good.
I feel like Sasquatch is finding a way, one, just to make sure everything's covered, but he's also like, well, I mean, can you slightly say this one's more than the other one? I feel like there's all these little angles that he's trying to figure out.
I know, right?
I basically just made myself uninsurable of any of it.
He was like, yeah, we could have covered you, but we happened to watch that video you were on a couple nights ago, and I don't know.
Oh my goodness, man.
But like, I wonder, like, does it cut? Like, if I'm, because I have a bunch of older books that I put in Mylar and I don't read them. Like, I'll try and buy like the True Believer version, for instance. I don't want to mess it up. So, like, if I'm reading it and I drop it, would it cover something like that?
Yeah, it's accidental damage, theft, fire, water damage. What else was there? There's a lot of stuff, bro. It's awesome. And I think Hudat was saying he uses the same company that I'm gonna go with. So I mean, people are. You want to see the Thor statue? I'll show you the Thor statue.
Yeah.
But the thing I like the most is that he was telling me about some guy that collects comic books that is one of his clients, and he's like, he goes to Comic Cons and he takes his like CGC books, and he knew all the lingo and everything, and he's like, he will go and trade for other books. And this guy had a whole bag that holds CGC books get stolen from him.
Ooh.
And so, but he had it all the pictures. He had all the money. The guy had paid maybe like something like 25 grand for the books that he had. So he had some really nice books, but they were worth like 75 grand and he had all of that covered. And so the guy just got a payday. He didn't have to sell his books or trade them at the con. He lost them. Someone literally stole them and he got a $75,000 check like that because his comics were now worth more money. Like,
so not to have a Sasquatch moment, but if you do turn in a $75,000 payday, does that mean the next year when you go to insurance, they're going to say now you're a little bit higher risk, so now that's going to be a little bit more money?
That's the one thing I imagine. I don't know because I didn't get to that point because I'm like, I just need to cover my books, but I didn't ask that question, so I need
because I was thinking again. Sorry, Sasquatch, not to have a Sasquatch moment, but if it goes for a year and I'm on a month 11, there might be some accidents around my house to cover some of the cost of the insurance.
Yeah,
I'm like,
there it is right there. Check out that baby.
That is but that annoys me because I really now need that statue, but I don't have money for that. That's why I don't like statues. They're too cool.
Look at that cape. It's amazing. Like, I saw it on eBay and I had a huge coupon, I think, and I was like, I have to have this.
Man, that's so cool.
So it's like 1,006 out of 3,000. And the guy that actually made this, I can't remember his name right now, but he's on Instagram. Huh? Yeah, Bowen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's on Instagram, and he actually follows me because I have a whole bunch of statues, man. So, but yeah, this is, whew, there it is, from Heroes to Icons. You were asking for it, man. So
like I like Thor. He's one of the ones that I said that I like. But if you actually think about Thor for a second, that is, like, if you try to explain who Thor is in the Marvel world, like, it's kind of a, you know, it's kind of a silly idea. But then when you see that, you're like, look at that. That's why Thor is Thor. Look at that thing.
Yeah, you don't need to explain him, man. I mean, look at those guns, and then Mjolnir. Holy crud, man! Yeah, that's my baby. Yeah, it is a Randy Bowen, man. Hey, DS, what's up, brother? So let's see. Gills popped in. I love this dude. I was watching his video. He dropped one. It's been a while today. He says renter's insurance is great for books if you document everything. I had my ceiling fan in and smashed an Iron Man 55. Oh, man. Brought it from a 9.6 to a 9.8 to a 7.0. Farmer's insurance gave me $4,000. Not bad. Not bad.
I like how when you read that, though, it took your breath away. You're like, from Iron Man 50. It took his breath away when you heard that. He's like,
It's because I love Thanos, man. He is my favorite villain, him and Venom. And so, like, oh, dude, like, yeah, that hurt me. And then 4,000, I mean, that's low, though, to be honest. Like, a night. Okay, Tech Kid says they do automatically raise your coverage 1% a year unless you request not to. And then they'll drop you if you have a whole bunch of claims.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, man.
I was about to say, because it would be on the 11th month, it would be payday if they don't stop that.
No, it's true. It's true. They've got to do something to protect themselves. So, but Carlito, you were one of the dude. I subbed you a long time ago, man. So something happened where we both got unsubbed from each other. I don't know what's up, but I saw you. The notification popped up, and I subbed you right back, dude. So
it's Barbarian Kung Fu and Carlito Classico that I get my vote for, like, coolest names, because I think both those names are awesome.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. So, what do you guys got going on in your channels? Anything coming up here soon?
Sasquatch, you got anything?
So
I was mesmerized by the dog. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
This is my little Oliver Queen.
Oh,
What's up, Oliver? Say hi to everybody, man.
Like Hollywood Chihuahua or whatever the name of the movie was.
Little scrapper with his little mohawk. Check that out.
I love his mohawk.
That is awesome.
It's cool, right? Here, baby girl.
So I honestly don't have anything coming up on my channel this week. I had to put a lot of my like my unboxing videos and everything on hold. Number one, because I really haven't been buying as much recently. But I've had a couple of I had a friend of mine send me some comics as an AOK, and I need to do videos of them. But right now is I'm a school teacher, and right now is like the busiest time of year for me.
End of the year.
Yeah, so we had a lot of so like for instance, I had some art competitions that came up last week. We had a gigantic student art show that involved like the entire city of San Antonio. That was a major undertaking. This we've got since I also oversee the entire art department. We've got like a musical that's coming up, all kinds of stuff like end of the year stuff is and then on top of that, I'm the senior class sponsor, so I've got prom coming up. I've got graduation, senior trip. So I don't have as much free time as I did previous to this month. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be kind of keeping a low profile probably until around June. Still hoping to do these things whenever we get to do them.
Yeah.
But oh, and you know what? Actually, I'm lying. So because I can do like I have like these weird times off. So like Mondays seems to be fine for me because it's earlier in the week. So like next Monday, I'm going to be doing a show with Fire Guy Ryan and also with D Comic Queen, and it's going to be hosted on my channel. And it's the first episode of the Blind Tiger Reading Club, which I'm opening it up to anybody who wants to join. So if either of you guys are interested. It's just that those two are the only two that responded to my call. So basically, the premise of it is that we're going to be a comic book reading club. We're going to review books that we read, but we're strictly focusing on indie titles. So I know like Matt, you and Thanatos, like you do like the breakdowns of the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And like Garrell mentioned earlier about how like Comic Tom does the breakdown of like the Infinity Gauntlet saga. And I love those videos. I love to watch them because I haven't read those books, but I haven't seen a whole lot of content out there for indie books. And I'm a huge indie fan, even though I love the superhero books and I love the big two. There's a lot of really interesting stories there that I felt like they needed some covers, and indies need love too. And so that's what I'm starting up next week. So
I like that. Indies need love too.
If any of you guys, like I said, if you Matt, like if you want to join on, if you Garrell would like to join, anybody in the chat, like if you guys are interested, then let me know, man. I'd love to have you guys on.
You've got a all-star team there, dude. With D Comic Queen and Fire Guy Ryan. That's some legit stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, me and Ryan, chat every once in a while in the DMs. He's a really cool guy, really down to earth, very very approachable. And I like him because he's really into like the whole story side more than he is into the art side. Cool. And he just seemed like he would be interested in it. And then D Comic Queen, like another Texas YouTuber, another Texas Instagrammer. I put a post out on Instagram asking if anybody would be interested, and she responded to it. So, I'm really happy with it. It is kind of like, it's gonna be the first time like we've never like hung out, through like a group chat or anything. So I don't know what the chemistry is gonna be like, but it's the first episode, and we're just gonna have fun. So we're gonna be reviewing The Boys. So if you guys haven't read The Boys, if you want to before then, so you can kind of like, follow along with us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
If not, then we're going to review the entire thing, spoilers and all. So if you're interested in figuring out more about it, then, that's a good way to do it too.
And that's this coming Monday?
That's going to be this coming Monday at 9:00.
Sweet, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'll be there. I don't read much indie, dude. Like I am literally all about big two. And I think the only book I get outside of the big two is Shredder in Hell.
Oh, wow, man.
And so like, I don't know much about it. So this will be cool for me to go check it out and see if it's something that I need to get into,
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool stories. A lot of sci-fi, a lot of crime, drama type stuff, true crime, horror books, like things like that. And like I said, like I love the superhero stuff too. But I think now that I've gotten older, like I definitely have this desire to read some of these books that, while still comic books, they seem to be more rooted in like the more reality, I guess. Like
a little more meat,
spandex, and muscles.
Cool. How about you, Mr. Garrell? What's going on with you, man?
No, there was a not that long ago. I asked Sasquatch to come in, not necessarily record it, but just go into a chat to even discuss independent books because I had like a short box full of them. And a long time ago, I got Midtown used to do a thing where you could buy a kind of like a mystery box, but it would be a pretty good amount of books. And it was probably like 2011, I think that's when my son was born. And I got a whole bunch of independents. I knew nothing about it, so that could be really cool. Trying to figure that out. Yeah, no, I just do the same video where I'm kind of looking for my favorite character. And so I think the next one will probably be a lot of Thor books I have bought because on eBay you can, and that's why I have so many books. You can buy lots from people if you not necessarily care about the condition of them. Yeah. And so I just have a lot of books and I've been reading them. And so I'm doing stuff like that. Like I said, I might be trying to do this thing where I give a few, really quick video where I give a few Instagram people that I bought stuff from so people know, hey, this guy was cool. And just do videos like that. I don't really do them 100% regular, like every Monday, just kind of whenever I get around to the video. So
I saw that you guys are both Symbiote club members, right?
Yep.
That's cool. I saw that video the other day, popped in, and I was like, whoa, shoot, John's in there, man.
Yeah, so that was like I've been friends with I Got Issues for a while now, through the CVM comic membership that we belong to, and so with that membership, there's a group chat that we all belong to, and that's how I got to know him. And then I didn't realize that he belonged to the symbiotes or that he started it all, because he never really talked about it. But I noticed that there was a symbiotes page and that other people on Instagram were part of it, and then they put out like an open call, like to anybody who wanted to be a part of it, and I was like, why not? So I gave it a shot, and I got accepted, and it's been a lot of fun. It's just a bunch of nerds. We just chat all the time about all kinds of comic book stuff and non-comic book related stuff. But it's cool because we're just like Matt, you and I, like when we get a chance to, like, we talk about our daily lives, and we talk about families and business and all kinds of stuff. So we all have this common thread of like comic books, which is what brought us together. But it's cool because we also get to know each other on a more personal basis.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's how I got in that, because issues when Ronin, when the whole Ronin like preview came out, everybody freaked out. Well, I just happened to have those books, so I thought the cover was super sweet. And Issues reached out to me because I put it on Instagram, like, oh, I got like 3 of those. That's neat. And I wasn't really thinking about selling them. And Issues reached out to me and was like, oh, would you willing to sell them? And I'm like, yeah. And I said, what are they? I don't even know what they're going for. And he was like, well, I mean, like, I think today it's like 20, but I'm sure it's gonna be more than later. I'm like, well, then 20 it is. And I think he said something like, oh, I don't have it right now, but can I pay you on Friday? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I remember I talked to him about it not that long ago, and he was like, yeah, you were very sweet. You clearly have never sold a book or really didn't know what to do. But I was like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, that's fine. Like, I don't know. I remember
like 50 cents, man. I
was like, I was like, how do I sell it? He was like, do you have a PayPal? And I'm like, no. And he was like walking me through how to do it, how to do friends and this stuff. And I was like, I don't know what to do next. That's cool. I guess that little communication is whenever they started it, they asked me if I wanted to join. So I'm like, that's cool. Yeah, I can go in there and do that.
That's sweet, man. That's really cool.
It is a very wide variety of people from all walks of life who just like comics and give each other a hard time sometimes and talk comics. Is pretty cool.
That's fun, man. I've been approached by a couple of the different clubs, and I kind of just haven't jumped on it, man. But when I saw John in there, I was like, that's really cool. That's really cool. And I had no idea until you said right now that Issues was the man. So I didn't even know that, man. So that's cool. But man, I think we should wrap it up, dude. We've been going over 2 hours. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we say goodnight?
No, just thanks for having me on, guys. It was awesome. It was fun. I really appreciate it.
Dude, we loved having you, man. It was a blast. We'll definitely get you on here again for sure.
There you go. That's what you end with right there, Mohawk.
There he is. my little hyena dog. So, but Mr. Garrell, we'll let you say bye first to everybody, man. And anything else you want to say?
Yeah, just thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and have a great night.
Cool. John?
Yeah, so number one, Garrell, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, man, and for being our very first special guest.
Woohoo!
You've hung out with us when nobody else wanted to, so hopefully hopefully people will respond now. And actually, Garrell suggested somebody else. So I got to talk to you about that, Matt, after we get
Cool.
off here. And again, Matt, it's, as always, man, it's always great to hang out with you. We haven't hung out in quite a while. I know we've both been busy.
I know, man.
But, it's always fun, man. And then to everybody else in the chat, thanks for hanging out with us, man. I know there's so much you can be doing on a Wednesday night. There's probably some other live chats going on. But again, you know, like we said before, this show doesn't work unless we have your participation. And so thank you so much for supporting us and for being here and just hanging out and giving us your input and sharing your stories and your jokes and your wisecracks. And you know, we'll keep doing it as long as you guys are interested. So thank you.
I love it, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Gills, dude, if you've got some cool stories about selling, because you are the man when it comes to selling, come be on the show with us, brother. We want to see you. And then anybody else in the chat, like the guy said, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thanks for just being a part of this. Thank you for all your comments and your love. And we appreciate you saying great show and everything. So you guys have a good night. We're thinking about another 2 to 3 weeks. We'll keep you posted and let you know what's going on next. Please, if you want to be on the show, reach out to us and let us know. Crimson Ghost, what's up, dude? And we appreciate you so much, guys. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you later. Mischief managed.